Okay, so now let's talk more about your journey. So you have started Cambio Market. What was it that led you to there? So was there one particular event or was it a series of events?
It's a series of events. It's kind of like a lifetime in the making, I would say. um, but kind of it just relates back to what we were saying, where it's really, I really didn't envision myself having my own business for the longest time. It wasn't in my life plans. Even having this particular type of business where it's an online shop, where we're doing e-commerce, where I'm dealing with products and there's a fashion element to it. I really didn't expect that, and that wasn't at all something that I anticipated. But in terms of like what led me down this path, it really started, I guess, in university, when I had been, I had always been interested in the nonprofit side of things. So I had been studying biology. I wanted to be a veterinarian in university. But then I ended up volunteering a lot for a nonprofit organization called Isaac. So that's AIESEC. And basically it has like this very strong business and youth leadership component to it. And that's actually how I met my partner, Jerome, because he was a volunteer with Isaac as well. And basically that's when I first realized the impact that businesses could have in society as a whole, and that business doesn't necessarily have to be evil. It's, it's actually this really strong and important force to have a true impact in our communities on a local and a global scale. And so that's actually through volunteering with Isaac, that's actually what led me towards a path in HR, because I graduated from University of Guelph, ended up going to George Brown for a year to do a post-grad in human resources. And then I ended up working in HR. And so I had always like wanted to be involved in the nonprofit side, or at least I was really interested in it. And I had always had that business side to it as well. But then I traveled to Philippines in 2012 because I'm Filipino. And so in Philippines, there's actually this really vibrant community of social enterprises, and they actually call themselves the Silicon Valley of social enterprises in Philippines. And it was like this really, really cool community that Jerome and I had discovered. And we just found that there are all these like really, young and vibrant entrepreneurs who were running businesses, real and successful businesses, creating innovative products, but they all existed for a primary social cause. They were all trying to address something in their communities. And at the time I had still been working in HR. Jerome was still in IT. And basically we were like, oh, we want to do something. We want to help these people. So we created another website called Choose Social, which was just a passion project on the side to educate people about all these social enterprises and what they were doing. And then that ended up being a really popular website. We were ranked #1 on Google if you search for social enterprises in Philippines. And then people started asking us where they could find those products in North America. So it kind of converges. But that's where the inspiration came for it. But the idea had being tossed around for a while, for the last maybe at least a year and a half before something actually came of it. So at the same time, last year, I had just been going through kind of a rough period in terms of my job. I just wasn't really satisfied with the work I was doing. I felt like recruitment and HR in general, I wasn't sure if that was what I wanted to be doing in my career. So I just decided to quit because I didn't see the point in staying in a job where I felt like I wasn't being fulfilled or being challenged enough. So I quit at end of August. I actually wanted to find another job. I was looking for jobs in marketing because I thought I wanted to do marketing. And then I couldn't find a job in marketing that I really wanted to do. And so at that point, Jerome had also quit his job because he was unhappy. So we were like, you know what? This is now or never. We don't have kids. Like, we don't have a home. We're not paying off a mortgage. Like, we're both unhappy. We both just quit our jobs. So this is now or never. We might as well do it. And that's what it's been so far. So we've been doing it since officially we launched October last year.
Okay. That's very inspiring and very brave and courageous.
It's a convoluted story.
Well, no. But to just say, oh, I'm not happy with my job, let me quit.
For sure.
You know what? I think probably the stats are 60 to 70% of people think that. But in terms of the actual number of people who have the courage to do that, I mean, it's very small, you
For
know,
sure.
and typically you do kind of want to have some sort of transition
It's
plan.
kind of a smart thing to do, yeah.
But you know, sometimes you just have to go with it. So, so what were the so in terms of making that transition, what were other than well, I guess HR and otherwise, what were the transferable skills you had to take from the HR field moving to, would you call it an e-commerce site?
Yeah, it's an e-commerce site. Yeah.
Site. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I surprisingly, there are quite a few transferable skills that helped us to succeed. So on Jerome's side, he had the tech skills. He had worked in some e-commerce businesses in the past, so he had that knowledge. For me, I had the HR side really helped in ways that were surprising. So in terms of my writing skills, writing is actually so important as an entrepreneur, and you really don't realize that. So in terms of writing our website, in terms of developing our social media content, in terms of even writing blog content, writing emails out to suppliers, partners, you know, doing outreach, writing is so critical, and being able to write both, you know, fun content, which I used to write for employees at my previous job, or engaging content for employees as well, but also very professional, some of it kind of almost technical language and content is also important when you're talking about, you know, working with your partners or suppliers. So the writing skills was actually pretty crucial, and I'm so happy that I was able to develop that side. Diplomacy as well, that you develop as an HR person, really important, which I think with most of our jobs, you're always dealing with people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so being able to develop, you know, professional relationships with people, but still in a friendly way, I feel like that's kind of what HR is, a really crucial skill set for someone who is in the HR profession, because you need to be able to develop positive relationships with employees and get them to trust you, but also keep things very professional, which was really important.
It's a tough, it's a tough line to kind of tread at times.
For sure, it definitely
is. Delicate balance.
Yeah,
a fine balance. I think that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. And then there's the marketing side, because I was doing a lot of branding and social media marketing for my from the HR side and recruitment. And then one of the things actually that was really surprising to me was in terms of transferable skills, is just realizing ways that I could monetize my skill sets. I don't know if that's a weird thing to say, but as an entrepreneur,
I think people would be very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So I've just quit my job. So how can I make some money until, you know,
for sure.
bridge the gap?
Yeah.
So
and that's something people don't think about. They think like, oh, I'll start a business, it's going to be successful. Like, you know, it'll be hard, but like, you don't realize that you need money in between before you become profitable enough to sustain your income. And that, you know, not everyone can get grants, not everyone gets like VC funding or anything like that. So for me, what I realized is like, I can really use my writing skills and my recruitment skills to rewrite people's resumes, rewrite their LinkedIn profiles, rewrite their website content for them. And I was able to get short-term contracts from that. I also was able to get part-time jobs as like a remote reference check interviewer. I was able to help people with their social media on a very small scale and kind of get some like short-term jobs and contract positions like that. It's been surprising the various ways that you can monetize your skills.
And I think it's amazing. You know, when you clear one thing out of your life, it makes room for other things that you actually want in your life. So I think, you know, that's a great thing. So, you know, you have this fear. It's like, you know, you're hanging on to something. But once you're hanging on to something, then you're not really open-minded, and you're not making room in your life for other opportunities to come, because you're just, all you're thinking about are kind of the negatives associated with
Yeah, most definitely. And I think also with the fact that we're all kind of pigeonholed into very specific roles. You know, you become like a data scientist at a company, or you're a back-end developer or something like that. And you think like, oh, that job title is all I am. You know, you think like, oh, how could I get another recruitment job, or how could I get another social media marketing job? And you don't realize
Yes.
like, if you break it down, you know, step away from that job title, step away from what that specific company was, and just think about
Mhm.
yourself as a person and what you can bring to whatever situations you find yourself in. It's really, really
Sure.
surprising. Like as you were
Yes.
saying, it's surprising to see what opportunities open up to you once you kind of get out of that little bubble that you've stuck yourself in, or that
Yeah.
that employers have stuck you in, right?
Right.
So
Right. Okay. Alrighty. So, someone who is making a similar transition, so moving to working from somebody else to for yourself,
yeah.
what sort of advice would you have for them?
First, you should have a plan, unlike me. um,
Maybe.
yeah, yeah. So I would say first you should understand what your goals are. Why are you
Mm,
leaving your current job? If you want to become an entrepreneur, what are your reasons for trying to do it? If you want
sure.
to do it simply for the money side, which is nothing wrong with that, then you know that
Mhm.
decides what kind of business model you could have. If you're doing it because you want to really develop your personal brand, you really want to develop and build something and eventually have employees, and that completely changes as well the type of business that
Sure.
you would have. So I
Mhm.
think having that core understanding from the get-go is really, really crucial to understand, like, why do you actually want to quit your job? Why do you actually want to start a business?
Mhm.
And then after that, kind of then developing a plan around it. So I think one of the things that would have really benefited me was kind of developing my network before I even quit my job. So a lot of
Sure.
people, like I was pretty good. I was going to a lot of networking events. I was doing volunteering, so I did have a network already. But I know that a lot of people, unless they're actively job searching, they are very
Mhm.
content with like staying in their, you know, 9 to 5 job and only interacting with their team. Um,
Sure. Sure. So
yeah,
yeah, getting out of that bubble.
yeah, for
And
sure.
and I mean, you and I met at a meetup
Yeah,
group, and
yeah.
I think that's a great way to meet new people with
Hmm.
similar interests.
Yeah. And even developing your network within the current company that you're at before you resign. There's actually a lot of people that I'm still in contact with who I've just become friends with, and a lot of them weren't even in my team. They're not even in HR. But it's
Mhm.
become so handy. For example, being friends with graphic designers, being friends with developers, being friends with people in marketing and the digital marketing side. I wasn't working
Sure.
with them on a day-to-day basis, but the fact that I was
Mhm.
able to get to know them and develop a good relationship with them means that now as an entrepreneur, when I do need graphic design services or I do need some marketing help, that I can actually reach out to those people who have that expertise and ask them for the help, or you know, just get a coffee with them.
Sure.
So I think people who are kind of thinking about making that transition towards entrepreneurship really, really
Mhm.
don't discount your existing network within the company you're at, because that's basically
Sure.
like an ideal place to source expertise in areas that you're really going to need, instead of like going out to all these meetups and you never know who you meet, right?
Sure.
So it's kind of
Sure.
like a really core thing. Um, yeah, and I
Okay.
guess yeah, I think those are really, really key things to do
All right.
in terms of making that transition. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So when you get started in this venture, what sort of support is available?
And social enterprise specifically, or
Hmm.
entrepreneurship specifically.
Probably
Um,
entrepreneurship.
yeah. In terms of the support that was available, what was really surprising is the support from other entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
So that's actually been such a crucial like source of help for us, is just meeting other
Okay.
business owners, even people who we technically compete with directly. I
Sure.
found that people are just so open to meeting up for coffee, even if you have nothing to discuss really, but just meeting
Hmm.
up for coffee, you know, asking them how their experience has been. And they're so willing to help and just give advice, and everyone is
Sure.
so supportive. So I think that's a really, really key resource that as an entrepreneur, especially a new one, you really should tap into.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, like you said, meetup groups are really, really a great way to just meet people, network in the industry. There's so many conferences and like trade shows, especially if you're in a product-based, you want to start a product-based business like what we have.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Going to those trade shows and sourcing products or just getting inspiration for products is really, really good for that.
Okay.
There's also a ton of like government funding available. We haven't
Sure.
for Cambio Market, we haven't really utilized any of any public funding yet because
Mm-hmm.
we are funding ourselves privately or personally.
Sure. Sure.
But I know that
Which
there
is
are,
a good thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
which
sure.
is a good thing.
Hmm. Yeah, and we eventually will look into some grants and public funding. But if you're able to fund yourself, that's great. But there are a number of like grants available. There's also like, different organizations that are available for people who are small businesses or entrepreneurs. Like there's Futurepreneur, and they have a number of mentorship
Yes.
programs. They also have a loan program. They're basically like startup incubators, and they have very good programs, and they have conferences as well. What else is there? There's Center for Social Innovation has been really, really key, especially if you're
Sure.
someone interested in like social impact or being involved in your
Absolutely.
local community. That's been really great as a way to meet people and just hear about events and opportunities that are happening.
Okay.
Also, I actually got like almost all of my small time contracts and jobs were through the Center for Social Innovation mailing list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a good way to like fund yourself in terms of jobs as
Sure.
well.
Sure.
Yeah, there's so many resources out there. There's really a lot, and there's also like Startup Canada and Startup Toronto.
Startup Toronto, yes.
Yeah, meetups.
Okay.
What else is there? There's just a ton of them. Like there's no
There.
shortage of ones.
Yeah, you just have to go ahead and look. If
Yeah.
I was a great host, I would actually have those links and post them. But this will eventually end up on a website. It's a journey, right? It's
Yeah,
not a
for
destination.
sure.
So when it's posted up on the website, I will put up some links to the various government programs that you've mentioned, because there are too many to mention.
For sure. There's so many. And I can, as a great guest, I can help you put those together. Yeah.
Alrighty. And so what are some of the, just could you mention a couple of challenges that you faced when you started your business that were kind of unexpected? You were like,
oh, yeah.
The little gotchas.
Yes. There are so many. I feel like the number one surprise, or the number one surprising challenge is that everything is a challenge. Like everything has been challenging. And I think being an entrepreneur, you hear how things are hard. You hear kind of the failure, how there's like a large percentage of startups that fail within the first like 2 years and 5 years and 10 years. But you never really expect that to be that hard. And so in terms of marketing and sales, that's been really, really challenging. Logistics has been really, really challenging. And I guess also one of the difficult things for us as well is just realizing that we didn't have a good network. Jerome has been working for the last few years in IT in Toronto. I've been working for a couple of years in HR and finance and marketing, and we have like I feel like we already had a good enough network to start, but once we realized like we really need help in this area, we realize like we really don't know what we're doing when it comes to digital marketing. We realize that you can watch a lot of videos and read articles and everything, but it's not enough. Like sometimes what's been shocking is like you put in so much effort and hard work into something and you're like, it's still not enough. Like it's still not getting the results you need.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's just been like the number one really surprising thing is that you really can't succeed on your own. You really need an ecosystem and support network who will help you. And regardless of like how good you think you are at something, starting a business is like this living, breathing organism where it's just constantly, it's kind of like always moving in one direction. And you as an entrepreneur are trying to like keep up. And which is kind of different from people thinking that you lead an organization, you lead a business, which is true to some extent, but at the same time, like, it goes in its own direction. People think of your products in one way, in a way that you didn't think of. It responds to your business that's different or surprising, and you have to pivot and respond to that. So that's been like really, really, there's just been a lot of surprises everywhere. Like, I feel that we're constantly learning and constantly trying to figure things out. Yeah, it's just been like one big surprise. To be honest, I don't think there's any way that you can prepare yourself for like how challenging, but also how rewarding it can be.
But you know what? You've been in business for a year. You're still smiling, so that is a good sign. So tell me how you stay motivated in continuing to move your business forward.
Good question. Because some days it's really harder than others. And it's like an emotional roller coaster. Like, some days you're on a high, and then other days you're on a low, and then other days you're really low. So in terms of being motivated, like, I think you have to just stay focused on why you're doing what you're doing. I recently heard someone talk. He started an all-natural men's perfume company, and he's been in business for about 10 years, and it's called Juniper Ridge. And I heard him speak maybe 2 weeks ago, and he basically said, like, over those 10 years, it's been super challenging, and there's multiple times he thought he would close down, but it's kind of like an obsession. Like, if you really believe in what you're doing, and you believe you can really help people, or you believe that in your idea so much that it's kind of become some kind of, like, it's kind of a compulsion. You just can't not do it. And so if you really, for us at least, like, if we stay focused on why we're doing what we're doing, if we stay focused on why we both quit our jobs and why we were unhappy, if we stay focused on, the partners that we're helping and the impact that we're having, and, the positive feedback that we've received from customers so far. You just have to be focused on the long term while also being focused on the short term gains. And at the same time, just realizing, like, you can't take things so seriously. And I'm a very serious person. I don't look like it, but I'm pretty serious.
Really?
I'm pretty serious when it comes to, like, I don't know, when it comes to like business and just work in general. And I took it really personally, a lot of not failures, but a lot of the challenges that we've had, a lot of the roadblocks that we had. I kind of took a lot of those things personally, and I was really hard on myself. And I realized, like, you can't do that because you just drain yourself. You just get into a depression, and you can't get yourself out. And that's how a lot of people, end up in bad situations. And I think you just have to have fun. Like, that's really what it is. And you have to enjoy the journey that you're on, and think, what's the worst, and realize that it is that it is exactly, it is a journey. That's exactly what it is. And also realizing, like, so what if your business closes down? Like, what is the worst case scenario that could happen? Is your business closes down, you go into debt, you don't have a job. Those are pretty bad things. Those are pretty bad things. But at the same time, I guess it's better to have tried and given it all that you can, rather than stay in your quote unquote safe job and wonder, geez, what if? Exactly. So it's way better to explore the opportunities, and it's not all doom and gloom, because there are a lot of success stories, and I mean, that's a great way to stay motivated. And women actually tend to do succeed better than men in new businesses. Really? Is that true? That is absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And if I was a great host, I would have the link to that. But I will actually, that is a stat, and I think it actually comes probably from probably one of the government agencies, because they keep tabs on such things. That's good to know. Yeah, for sure. And I think, like, one of the things, I guess, that helped me to just be motivated in general is, like, just thinking about constantly what I've learned so far. And in a year, a year ago, like, what did I not know? Who did I not know? What was I doing a year ago? And when I think about that, and I think about all the people that I met, all the things that I know now, all of the skills that I've gained, like, regardless of what comes out of the business, regardless of like what happens, I just feel like I'm still better off as a person
Sure.
now than I was a year ago. And I think that'll still be true. Yeah. And I think that'll still be true 2 years from now, 3 years from now, like, as long as you're constantly, learning something and still enjoying the journey that you're on, regardless of what the outcome is, even if you go into debt and all those things, like, you need to just stay focused and know, like, as a person, are you still happy? And I think that's what keeps us motivated, is knowing that, and knowing that it's not the end of the world if our business goes under. You know what I mean? Like, and that keeps us able to at least have fun and enjoy the moment that we're in. So
yeah. And I think with a social enterprise, I mean, having a passion for your business is an added benefit than just kind of researching the market to see what sort of business would be successful. So when you think about why I'm actually doing this, it helps to motivate you, and that will push you forward in order to succeed.
Yeah, for sure. And even if you're not running a social enterprise, even if you're doing it for the money, and you're doing it for, the independence, or because you don't want to work in a 9-to-5 job, like that, those are all legitimate reasons. And as long as you are really passionate about what you're doing and passionate about, what you're learning, that's really what will keep you going. And I think it's a better way. It's better to focus on what kind of problem do you want to solve, whether it's a social, whether it's a problem in terms of like social issues, or if it's a problem that just consumers face in general. If you focus on the problem as opposed to like a specific idea or a specific product, then that will keep you going much longer than if you're just like, oh, I want to make an app for, I don't know, a random app just to make money for the sake of it. So.
Right. Absolutely. I would definitely agree.